What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. In any normal circumstance, the only way to get new Pokemon is to roll up your sleeves, go out into the wild, and waste a few dozen Pokeballs. But every so often, you run into an NPC or two that's overcome with generosity, and give you a new Pokemon. These surprises are most welcome, and often are ways of getting Pokemon that you can't find anywhere else. And just to prove how great gift Pokemon are, when coming up with the idea, I had envisioned it as another best and worst video. But looking at all the options, I couldn't really find any that I thought were bad. I mean, maybe a case could be made for the Magikarp that you can get, but even then you have to pay for it, so it's not technically a gift at all. And I would like to point out that I have removed the starters from being eligible because they're a bit different, and then it would just become a collection of which starters are my favorite, but that's a list for another time. So, here are the top 6 best gift Pokemon of all time. Number 6. Beldum. The Hoenn region has some of the most and highest quality 3rd stages in the whole Pokemon world. So much so that they needed 2 pseudo-legendaries. Both of them were great, but my personal tastes lean toward the Steel-type clan. They're both pretty rare, but while Bagon can be found sparsely in the depths of a single cave, Beldum is significantly more rare as a single gift Pokemon. And in this case, I'm specifically referring to the Gen 3 games for the gift, but I'll go into that in a bit. Getting this tiny psychic leg is as simple as visiting Steven's house in Moss Deep City after having beaten him and the Elite Four. A Pokeball containing this Pokemon is sitting on the table with a note bequeathing it to you, forcing you to go make sure that Steven didn't die and leave it in his will. But getting Beldum from your mentor is always a thrill, and makes you feel like a true Pokemon master. Unlocking the new potential for the Dex, but also finding it in the first place. You don't have to go back to Steven's house, but continued exploration rewards you with one of the strongest non-legendary Pokemon in the game, even to this day. Your initiative is also rewarded even further if you were able to use this metallic titan against your friends who had not explored as thoroughly as you, leaving them to wonder what sort of monster just ripped through their entire team. I referred to the Gen 3 gift as being superior to the one in the remakes, simply due to the logistics of the game itself. In Gen 6, you could either get a Beldum at any point in the game from the GTS or Wonder Trade, or just transfer one up yourself from one of your own past games. But in Gen 3, there was no such convenience, meaning that this obscure gift was the only way to get what is one of the best Pokemon you could hope for. Number 5. Type Null. There's some question about whether Gladion might be considered an actual rival, but going from antagonist to fighting by your side cements his position as the Prince Zuko of the Pokemon world. But Gladion's honor aside, one of the most interesting defining attributes is his signature Pokemon type Null, which later evolves into Silvally. Upon the pair of you owning the Aether Foundation, I guess Hau was there too, probably, I don't know. You go your separate ways, but later, after you beat the Elite Four, you can return to Aether Paradise and see Gladion once again. Here he will give you your very own type Null, which is the only way to get one. But that makes sense because they were man-made in a lab and don't occur naturally at all. Along with giving you this new hybrid Pokemon, which, is it a legendary? Some people say it is, but others call it more like a Lucario thing, but the game code has it as we'll let someone else figure that out. Gladion, or Wick in the Ultra games, will also give you all of the memories, which are the sort of disk drives that Silvally can hold to change its typing. The Pokemon alone was a huge gift, but getting all of the memories amps this Chimera up to the man-made Arceus that it was designed to be. While I don't personally like type Null as much as Beldum, the reason it's higher is simply because this one is at level 40, while Beldum was only level 5. Since they're both post-game gifts, the one that isn't in the single digits has to win out. Number 4. Lapras. Lapras is one of my favorite Pokemon. It's my favorite Ice type, and I've always loved the idea of the Loch Ness Monster. But put all of that aside because the Lapras that is gifted to you in Kanto is objectively great. While the evil team gives a new definition to hostile takeover for the Silph Co., you stumble across your rival and battle, proving once and for all that Oak's grandson is a Team Rocket sympathizer. But after you trounce him, in the same room there's an NPC that will give you the Pokemon Lapras. And for this list, I'm specifically talking about the ones after Gen 1, since that one was only level 15, but later they upped it to a more reasonable level so that it could contribute to the squad much faster. Out of all the water types out there in the Kanto region, I truly believe Lapras to be one of the best, for its general heft and absolutely massive move pool. There is honestly no reason for this sea creature to learn all of these fantastic moves, but I'm sure glad that it does. But on top of that, Lapras is an ice type, which was incredibly rare in Kanto, so much so that the specialist in it couldn't even find enough for a full team. But Lapras is given to you earlier than you could find any of those other ice types in the game. So if you wanted to use one to fire off those powerful stab attacks at the dragons, Lapras is your best bet. Otherwise you'd have to go catch something else way later in the game and try and grind it up to be on par with everyone else. Lapras is just one of those Pokemon that will make it an easier time for beginner trainers, but also one that Pokemon Masters can use to perfection on a beautifully synergized team. And all you have to do is make sure that you don't miss talking to a random NPC, and this loving transport dinosaur is all yours. Number 3. Lucario. You can get a Riolu egg from Riley at the end of the Iron Island side quest, but that's not the one that I'm talking about. I think the Lucario from X and Y is a better gift overall. You see, once arriving at Chalor City, you'll be taken to the Tower of Mastery, where you will learn all about the mysteries of Mega Evolution. After showing your worth and climbing to the top of the tower, you face Korrina in a battle between two Lucario. One of them that took a shine to you earlier decides that it wants to stay with you and be your traveling partner on adventures. Now, there are multiple reasons why I think the Gen 6 situation is better than the one from the original game. Number 1, it's already a full-fledged Lucario. Instead of being an egg that you have to hatch, and then a baby Pokemon that you have to level up with friendship. That's a pretty hefty investment in Gen 4, as opposed to the one that's given to you with the Steel type and stats already in place. Secondly, remember that Tower of Mastery thing? This Lucario comes complete with Mega Stone and all. As soon as you get it, you can Mega Evolve it to your heart's content. It's not particularly useful in the fighting gym that immediately follows, but it's got the rest of the playthrough to pull its Mega weight. I didn't actually use the Lucario my first time around in Kalos, but the second time I didn't have a set team, so I just kept it around and it became a star. And I don't even really like to use the older Pokemon in the newer games, because I feel like it's kinda unfair to the new Pokemon, since I could use those classic ones in a bunch of other games. It seems like a waste, you know? But Lucario won me over. I mean, just reasonably looking at the game, all the other Mega Stones are either unobtainable until the post-game, or for Pokemon that you won't evolve for a while. Meaning that not only is Lucario a fantastic addition in its standard form, but it's the only representative for Mega Evolution that you can have for quite some time. This Metal Jackal is a fantastic partner for any game, but it's made all the more sweet because it's free. Number 2. Latios and Latias. There are some legendary Pokemon that you can only get through gifts, and not through any of the games at all. However, every so often, you'll come across a lucky spot in the games that are a minor miracle, and that was the case in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. A little past the halfway point in the story, you'll meet up with that Beldum living champion, and you'll go accompany him to the southern island, where you fight off the evil team from one of the Lati twins, and a different one will join your team depending on the version. A legendary Pokemon will just flat out be given to you, and it's not even the post-game. And this is extra remarkable considering that in the originals they were the stupid roaming legendaries. Dragon Psychic is a great typing on its own, but Latios and Latias have an absurdly huge move pool to hit pretty much anything you could imagine super effectively. And just like the last entry, these two come with their own Mega Stones, so you can get Mega Legendaries of your very own before you even face off against the game mascots. Now, some people might say it's a bit too cheap to use a legendary for so much of the game, but is it cheating to use all of the resources available to you? I actually used the opposite, Latios, in my first playthrough of Alpha Sapphire, due to the Eon ticket that I got. But rest assured, if I didn't have that opportunity, I would have used the one native to the game, because there was no way I would pass up a chance to use an extrasensory creature of myth. Latios and Latias are also useful for being able to learn Fly after the next gym, but even better than that is after you soothe whichever elemental force of nature that is rampaging in your game, you're given the ability to soar on your legendary friend. This is not only a beautiful method of travel, but it can lead you to countless secret hidden areas. And this previously untapped power allows you to find dozens of legendaries all throughout the region. Quite simply, these Eon Twins are some of the most useful Pokemon in general, but given to the player freely with half of the game left to go, and it's got to be one of the best gifts that I've ever gotten. Number 1. Dratini and Gibble. I'm willing to bet that not everyone out there even knows about these gifts, and that even fewer have participated in them. Well, in Black and White 2, early on, you meet the former champion, Alder, and later in the game, you meet his grandson, Benga. Benga then challenges you to test your mettle against the toughest trainers in the region at Black Tower or the White Tree Hollow, depending on your version. You battle through 10 challenge levels, which amount to 20 physical levels, until you complete the most difficult one, at which point you'll face Benga in battle. Then, when you meet up with him again at Alder's house, he will give you a Pokémon, Dratini in one game and Gibble for the other. Some of you might be asking, well, how are those Pokemon any better than a legendary? Or even a rare one-time only Pokemon? And the simple answer is that these Pokemon are 100% guaranteed to always be shiny. That's right, you can go into the game knowing confidently that you will get a shiny no matter what. But it doesn't feel nearly as insignificant as the Red Gyarados, because that can happen in the story as early as the 5th gym. This isn't until the post-game, and after a lot of work. This isn't just something that you decide to do one afternoon. It takes a lot of commitment. Plus, whichever one you get, you're getting a pseudo-legendary, which you were gonna use in combat against your friends anyway, but now you can show off a shiny one. It doesn't even matter what you think of the shinies themselves. The point is that you have this crazy rare form of the Pokemon. I bought both versions and played through them multiple times, not because they're my favorite games, but because I knew what was waiting for me when I got to the end. No matter what might happen, I would still get that sweet shine coming off one of those dragons. So when people ask me what my longest shiny hunt has been, I would have to say Black and White 2, since every time after the first time I played it, it was specifically to get the shiny that was hidden at the end. Some might call that cheating, or that it takes away some of the fun if you know that you'll get a shiny, but I say it's an even better feeling in putting all your hopes on a gamble, since you know that it will pay off in the end. Instead of dumping endless hours into soft resets without fruition, you might as well spend that time playing a Pokemon game as it was meant to be, getting to try out different teams, all with the knowledge that your prize will be waiting for you every time. I have no idea how Benga got so lucky to get these Pokemon in the first place, but giving them to you constitutes what I believe to be the absolute pinnacle of generosity in the Pokemon games to date. So, those are what I believe to be the top 6 best gift Pokemon. Which free Pokemon do you think are the best? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!